What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Film Bros podcast. I'm your host, JP, and this is my co-host, Josh.
Hey, everyone.
Listen here. We got a good episode for you guys today. We're going to go ahead and give you guys a review of a movie, and I'm not going to give away the movie right now. I'm just not. Okay, we're going to have a little appreciation topic before the movie, but I guess we can hit the opening song before we get going. All right, y'all. So, topic of today, all right, and I kind of wanted to talk to you about this, Josh, because with this movie that we're about to review, it blew my mind. It was very different. It was very creative. I'm going to talk positively about it throughout this whole episode probably, but I just want to ask you, animation. What do you think of animation as a medium?
As a medium?
Yeah, like as a way to,
like express things,
story, stuff like that. A lot of people come out the woodwork and be like, "Hey, yo, it's animation." Nobody wants to watch animation. Nobody wants to go buy movies that were, that are animated and stuff like that. So, what is your take on that?
My thing about animation is that it's a perfect medium to not only capture adult things, you know what I mean, but also as much as like a story-driven content can be there, it also brings engagement toward kids. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's a lot of bringing in older and young audiences for a story. You know what I mean? Because we could see animation and be like, oh, this is kid stuff, but we know we have adult animation now. But in the case of bring up Puss in Boots, right? That story is deep. You know what I mean? Like, the animation, we know it's animated. It does take a different turn. It does kind of look like an anime, like comic booky at the same time. But the story there is deep. And I think the only way to convey a very deep story like that is to have a lot of major audiences that can appreciate not just the animation, but the story. So you need the engagement of kids and the adults. I think it's a good way to just bring everybody together.
That's a good way to put it. I appreciate, that point of view. I will say, when you say it's the only way, now I know that there's multiple ways. There's, there's live action. There's, different animation styles. There's, now we're getting into, we have stop motion. That's a different way. And it's, we're getting to a point where like animation isn't, a lot. I don't think we're at that point yet. I think we're still 50-50. I think we still have the people that are like animations for children, and then we still got the people that appreciate animation in every, way, because it's a way to tell a story. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I know me, as but I think I'm just a picky person. There's always stuff that I like, but then if there's certain things in that category, like what's that animation style I don't really like anime, you know what I mean, like that kind of animation style. So there's some styles that I really can't really dig, I can't get into, but for the most part, I think you're right. Like, there is stories that that you want to tell universally, and I never thought animation was for children either which way, because if you notice, even when movies are aimed towards kids, who's taking these kids to the movie theater? Adults, right? So what do they sprinkle in there? Adult humor, little nods that kids will never understand. How many times have you seen a movie and then you just grow up and you're just like, I never noticed that shit's actually funny. You know what I mean? Like, now that you have an adult mind, you know about those things. So I never really seen it as a kids thing. I know that they, the other side argument would probably be, it is for kids. They just need, parents to be able to wash something down while they're watching it with their kids or whatever. But it's like, no, I've seen movies where, it's all pure kids movies. There's not really that much adult jokes, but there's parents there watching it with them because they're fascinated. You know what I mean? I don't know how many times I've caught, or maybe you too. Like, I've seen you with the nephews. You see them watching something and you kind of just get gravitated into it because you're just interested. You know what I mean? So I think animation fits perfectly for everything, and animation is going to be a big topic for this review that we're doing. And I want to get into it because I just want to really start talking about it and breaking it down. So, Josh, if you can kindly let us know what the movie we're reviewing is today.
We are reviewing Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse 2023.
Miles, being Spider-Man is a sacrifice. You have a choice between saving one person and saving every world. Send me home. I can't do that.
I can do both! Spider-Man, always...
Not always.
What about Uncle Ben?
If not for Uncle Ben, most of us wouldn't be here. Can't stop me now! You can't run forever, kid!
I can't lose one more friend.
Miguel, this isn't what we talked about!
You knew?
I have no idea what you're doing!
Everyone keeps telling me how my story is supposed to go. Nah, I'm gonna do my own thing.
Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse has a 96% on the Rotten Tomatoes score, about a 95% on the audience score. I don't know who that 5% who doesn't like this movie. Same thing with the tomato meter. I don't know who is the 4% who does not like this movie, but those have to be the people that hate animation. And if that's the case, then, well, I guess I was wrong. I guess it's not 50-50. I guess it was, they are a minority at this point.
Yeah.
So this movie has been making waves. It, dominated the first week's box office. At the time of recording, this is on its second week with a 55% drop on its second week. Not bad at all. That's actually a steady. It only got beat out just slightly on its second weekend by Sony's Rise of the Beasts. Obviously, it's a new movie, but a 55% drop. Honestly, we watched this movie twice.
Yeah. And
both times the theater was kind of full. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, like I felt like a pack of sardines in there. I didn't really like that. It's gotten so much noise and so much, and we're not going to get into the big, deep conversation with this part, but there is some controversy because this movie has felt so... this movie has been so... well received, so loved, and so inclusive to everybody that even the trans community has been a vocal part, saying that there's a lot of things that pop out to them and they really like about this movie. Now, like I said, we're not going to jump into this whether it's yes or no, whatever, blah blah blah, if we don't like this, whatever, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But this is going to kind of play into a fact later on when we break down the movie on certain scenes. And we can make the argument that it is about that. It's more about I believe how would you say it? The little voice behind that. What's the moral of that meaning? You know what I mean? Like the moral of everything and how it's portrayed in this movie. So that's good. I mean, if you're able to draw in all kinds of different corners, they always say they need a 4-quadrant movie. If you could bring in everybody, different people, you know what I mean? Be all inclusive, make everybody feel welcome. Why not, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that goes to show a lot about not just the movie, but Spider-Man as a whole. You know what I mean? A lot of people like to be like, or not a lot, that 4%. Like, neurotic. He's always like, oh, Miles Morales is Miles Morales and Spider-Man is Peter Parker, right? But the whole point of these movies is that, or the first one, is that anyone can wear the mask, right? Whether it be Peter, Miles, Gwen, etc., anyone can wear it. I mean, we saw a paraplegic Spider-Man in there. Granted, that's a comic thing. That's not really a huge spoiler, so that's a comic book thing. But
just to, on that note,
inclusive is what I'm trying to get to.
On that note, I do want to let everybody know that this is a spoiler review. I should really be saying that on the top of everything, but it will be in the title as well, so you guys know this is a spoiler review. Just to let you guys know, we're not holding hands. Sorry to cut you off, Josh, but after you give out those things, it reminds me, and I gotta say it right now.
like to be fair, like that's not. Like, if you're a comic, that's a comic thing first. Like, that wasn't even... I think that was part of the trailers, too, so...
Yeah.
It's not a big thing.
Okay.
But, like, that's what I'm saying. It was so inclusive to that point where everyone can just be like, oh, man, I think this Spider-Man or this Spider-Person just really feels like me. You know what I mean? So, it's very nice to see that coming from a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, especially with all the Spider-Man that are shown. Like, everybody has a voice. You know what I mean? Everybody... there is not one Spider-Man that doesn't have... one of the problems that are on this earth right now. You know what I mean? So it's a good, like I said, it's a good way to bring I think this is a great way to bring attention, because this movie, like I said, it's making waves on a $60 million budget, a $60 to $80 million budget. It's already made $400 million. You know what I mean? And like I said, animation is going to be a big topic, because we've had a lot of heavy hitting animation movies this year, with Mario Bros hitting $1 billion. Past animation movies have hit $1 billion. This movie is tracking so well that they're even, thinking about making spin-offs and a live action. Even the guy who voices the actor in the movie, he wants to play live action Miles Morales. Now, I don't know if that's gonna be a done deal. I don't think he has that look like Miles, but it is what it is. That's a different conversation for a different time. But like, this movie is making waves, and for a movie that is coming off, and it's a sequel to an original that really didn't find its legs until streaming, to be honest. Like, I didn't even, honestly, I didn't really appreciate the first one until I think I watched this one. And after watching the first one, I watched it. You see me the other day watching it. I watched it twice that day, and I was like, okay, yeah, no, like, they did some solid work with the second one. And like I said, we're gonna dive into it. So, Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. Like I said, Shameik Moore as Miles Morales, Haley Steinfeld as Gwen Stacy. We got Brian Tyree Henry as Jeff Morales, Oscar Isaac as Miguel O'Hara, Jake Johnson as Peter B. Parker, Issa Rae as Jessica Drew, so on so forth. A lot of diverse cast. Marshall Ali coming back as Uncle Aaron. That's a big thing. New directors on this one, Joaquin Dos Santos, Kent Powers, Justin K. Thompson, Phil Lord, and Christopher Miller, and Dave Callahan have came back to write this movie, and you can tell they did their homework with you know what I mean? Like, they completely connected it. Now, we're obviously going to talk about this movie on its own merits, right? Before we go into the conversation of how it built on from the first one, I think we should completely just judge this movie on its own. And with as much as it's made, let's talk about the story at hand, right? This one is, we start off with Gwen. She's doing her thing, learning her spider powers. That we see that she's struggling with letting her dad know, winds up getting recruited into the multiverse team, winds up, being told not to go to Miles Morales's, but then has to, because, he's over here fighting his new villain, his new arch nemesis that nobody seems to take seriously, the Spot. We see that he's a year and 4 months ahead now.
That's right.
He's more built, stocky, He hit that growth spurt. He's been drinking his milk, eating his greens. He looks really, like, aged in this one, like completely aged. We see that Gwen breaks that rule, winds up coming to see him, has that little heart to heart. The parents, he's also struggling with letting his parents know his secrets and stuff like that, coming out as Spider-Man. Wound up making the Spot angry and making him an even bigger threat. So then that's when we go through our multiversal shenanigans. We see ourselves with different Spider-Men. We find out that Miles Morales was the original anomaly, and everybody wants to track him down now. And by the end of the movie, we get this perfect twist that is just crazy. And we know it's a spoiler review, and we're gonna spoil this, but I think that is its own topic, and I really don't want to, I don't want to bring it up just yet. Because it's still it's
gonna dive into like theories and shit.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So with that, let's go ahead and start judging this movie on its own, and we'll talk about the characters. We saw Haley Steinfeld come back. Like I said, Shameik Moore, Miles Morales, Gwen Stacy. We seen a few newcomers. We didn't really see the old gang from the first one. We saw a whole new roster of Spider-Man. So what do you think about the characters, their development within this movie, and did you feel satisfied by the end of the movie?
I think everybody did their thing here. Haley Haley Steinfeld and Shameik Moore shined. Oh, not just them, but Oscar Isaac. Those three shined out the most for me. I think as they should. They were fucking phenomenal in this movie. As for everyone else, they did their thing. I wasn't too much of a fan of Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's because I don't vibe with her just on a bike all the time and kicking ass with a motorcycle. Maybe that's just me.
Okay.
I wasn't vibing with her. I really did like the dad and the mom in this one. They seemed very like more developed and involved than they were in the first one, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And then, I'd say just about everybody did their thing. And then just I think we also got to shine a light on the Spot because he did fucking amazing. The voice actor for him, who was it?
Who
The
for
Spot.
who?
The Spot.
For the Spot? That was Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah, he did great.
Yeah, he was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Hilarious. Yeah, the characters in this one were great. I did love the involvement of the parents a lot more. It showed, it just, I don't know about you, but me sitting in a parental perspective, I'm just like, fucking tell them. They're gonna love you, bro. But they got to go through their story. Gwen's story wrapped up nicely, in my opinion. Even though we know that she's gonna go on to the next movie, I like how they basically fulfilled her arc with this movie. You know what I mean? Whatever we get with the next one, at least she found that resolution with her parents. Even though you don't really get that resolution with Miles and his parents, which I'm pretty sure that's gonna obviously extend to the next one.
Sure.
But at least with Gwen's situation, like it was so sad and satisfying to see that whole process take over. I honestly, I don't think anybody missed out. Like, I didn't even know, too. I didn't know if you knew, but basically the whole cast of The Lonely Island was in this movie because the dude that played the Vulture was the other skinny dude, not the one with the beard, but the one with the shaved face. The one that played the DJ in that one movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he played the Vulture, that paper-looking one.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Italian
like, we
Renaissance
had...
Vulture.
Yeah, we had a lot of, like, little cameos within this movie that was great too.
That's crazy.
But the character development in this one and the way that they portrayed the characters, I honestly I can't complain because there was not one thing that I was just like I'm so bored on. You know what I mean? Like everything, like everything that everybody brought to the table. Even what's his name? The dude that played Spider-Punk, Daniel Kaluuya.
Mm-hmm.
I loved him as Spider-Punk.
Oh yeah, he was great.
The dude that
Obi Brown,
Karen that played Karen Sony that played Pavita. What's his name? Prabhaka.
No, it's it's Pavitir Parker, something like that.
Yeah. He was a driver that that played in Deadpool and stuff like that, and he played him really well. Everybody brought their own little comedy to this movie. Even Brian Tyree Henry as the father, like everybody was hilarious. Mm-hmm. There was action comedy, like there wasn't no dull moment within this movie with these characters.
For sure. I think a lot of them really just did their thing. There was no real dull note. If I want to be salty and call someone out though, Ben Reilly. I told you that was one of my big things. Like the fact, like I understand him being played by Andy Samberg and stuff, and he was funny and edgy and whatnot, but for his first time outside of a comic book, I was expecting something badass, especially in the marketing. They kind of made him look badass, but that's my own gripe. That's like my own thing.
I think with him, same thing with Miles. I think we're going to have a bigger arc with him in the next movie. I think they're going to shine a light on him because I was thinking, like, why hire Andy Samberg for somebody who's going to give a few roles and then give him a big role by the end of the movie? You know what I mean? And, I really love that one scene where he's posing in the rain and shit like that.
Perfect pose.
Yeah. But I think that he's going to play a bigger role in the next one. And I think that's why they kind of just made him like a bumbling idiot, because when he comes back, he's going to be more aggressive and stuff because he's going to want to prove to Miguel that, that he's stronger. That's what I'm thinking. But that's the only thing. But yeah, I think I did think he was kind of like a little whiner, but like I told you when we left, like I thought that was like who his character was. You know what I mean? Like he was just a big puss.
No. But no, that's just my own thing. After reading them in comics and stuff, you would think. And then, he just He's just Peter Parker, but blonde. So there you go. Interesting stuff, though.
The other Peter Parker that, the one that had the baby, the one that was in the first
Peter
one,
B.
Yeah, Peter B. I liked him. Again in this movie, I like,
even for his little role, he did great.
Yeah, like I was just, dude, you're just like I always thought, because even in the first one he was more like the mentor or whatever, but he was also like pretty much comic relief in a way.
Yeah.
In this one, them upgrading him from not only having that comic relief, but also having those emotional moments and helping him kind of be the heart of Miles Morales too, and kind of guide him like that like the way they built up on that from the first one, that one's really great too.
That's why because I feel like he had a lot more heart in the first one, you know what I mean, because he was trying to be that mentor. That's why when I think about it, like they did him dirty by cutting out that scene of him talking to Miles in the first one after he can't he's talking to them up, and he's like, oh, he can't do this on command, you know what I mean, and then they kind of beat him up and then he storms out. There's a scene after that they cut out where he's supposed to talk to him. And like you get more of him throughout that first movie, but in this one, like you can tell not only was he interested in protecting Miles and trying to reason with him throughout the whole ordeal that I'm sure we'll get into, but you can tell he also had regret and stuff in holding back and withholding information from Miles.
Yeah, they really played on that too. Even same thing with Gwen too. They played that as well. Like she was really with it, but you knew that she was teetering, but like she was trying to do what was right or what she thought was right at the time, and they kind of gave a few people that kind of story, but everybody played it differently, if that makes sense, and made it their own way. And I thought that was a very well direction that they took it in.
That's why a lot of them didn't think they were doing wrong. Even Gwen, she just thought like it's what was necessary. It wasn't really a morality thing till the ending of that whole ordeal when she's like, damn, did we do the wrong thing or whatever? But like you can tell them withholding that information from Miles is really like, it really cut them deep because they were his friend, mentor and friend / crush.
Yeah.
So, good stuff there.
Yeah, man.
I love that whole conflict. Oh, and I gotta shine a light real quick on, I fucking love Mayday, Peter's baby, the cutest fucking baby.
Honestly, they did a good job with the way they made that baby look and shit like that. One thing I didn't like though, I will say from Gwen, was that whole bridge scene. It would have been so easy for her to have been like, an anomaly might happen if you go and do that. Fucking stay here and basically web him like she did before. I didn't really like how she kind of just let him go. I felt like that was kind of like a little. I know you have to keep the movie going, but that one was kind of like that blatant, like that it would have probably ended it right there. You know what I mean?
Maybe, but I think at that time, like, not only was she upset because Miles followed her into that dimension, but she was also withholding the information. You know what I mean? So she couldn't just be like, wait, stop, because then it has to happen, you know, because then he'd be like, what the fuck? Like, I think that's all tension built up for when Miguel enters the scene and explains it to him what's going on.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, I guess you can make a point there because he wound up saying like, you let him go and you let him do this stuff. Like she was still being reluctant about it too. I guess that makes sense.
And like I'm sure we'll dig deep on how that works, those events. But for now, I think everybody kind of just did their thing here.
Okay. All right. I agree. What about the animation? Now, I did say that we were going to go into it a lot more into detail. I think animating this world wasn't easy.
Oh, no.
I think they said they took like about 4 years to do this movie, and they haven't even started on the next one. Like, there's no lines recorded at all for the second one, nothing like that. So they're hard at work for part 2. But what do you think about the animation in this one?
Yeah, man, there's so many things to talk about. Everything was so fucking perfect and fluid and like great. I don't know what it was, from the facial expressions to very like simple things, like that scene that comes to mind where it's Gwen. It's this one's part of the trailer, so it's not a huge spoiler, but where Gwen is on that little statue and she's walking and the camera subverts, and you just see the city. You're just like, fuck, dude. Like, they animated it so fucking perfectly. Like, it's so much crisper and cleaner in here. Even like to alternate dimensions, like Puppeteer's. I'm sorry if I'm gonna butcher that name. Indian Spider-Man's alternate universe looked fucking amazing. Like, just animated perfectly. And then Spider-Punk, I love the way he was animated. I like how his shading kept changing.
Oh yeah, like if it was like pieces of comic books or something. I thought that was
like he looked like he was part of like paper mache and shit. You know what I mean?
Even when he wound up giving her the watch that he made to jump to the multiverse, like that the portal was like that too, paper mache type shit moving around. It wasn't like the original one that Miguel O'Hara came in and stuff like that.
So like I like that they're very distinct and unique to those characters. You know what I mean? Because even when you see Spider Society, not every Spider-Man is animated the same. You know what I mean?
Everybody's different.
Everybody's 2D, movement. 3D, and like some animation was stiff, some wasn't. Like even Ben Reilly's Spider-Man was he was very like 90s animated. He had the shading and everything, so you're just like, fuck, dude, they really put in a lot of detail into everything they did.
Yeah, and to take it a step further, every Spider-Man had their own personalities, yes, but let's talk about, like I said before, let's talk about that the way that Gwen's
dimension.
Oh man, the water paint, the way that like her emotions change the room, like when she was feeling down and blue, and like I said, this kind of parallels to the whole trans thing or whatever, and that's why I think that it felt so inclusive and how important animation is and how the way they did this, because you had that shade of blue and that home space when she would hug him, like that pink, that warm pink orange
coloring that came
and then it would come in, and from different angles from underneath glass, like how her hair was completely green and her chest was pink because she was trying to feel the love. You know what I mean? Like it was animated and painted in a way where like you didn't have to hear the words to know how they were feeling.
Yeah, it was so.
And then when she jumped over to Miles's universe, how she basically wherever she would go, and her influence would basically be within his world too. Like it would turn kind of water painty too. You know what I mean? Like it would turn pink or whatever. Like she was. Same thing with how you were saying Indian's Spider-Man, his universe. It was different too, and like a reflection of Earth. Obviously, they're trying to be like funny with the whole there's cars over here, there's chai tea or all that stuff.
It's too.
But like that one was very like. What was it, like 2D animation, like brown paper, very bland kind of thing. Yeah. And then you had like the little side ones. You had the Lego animated one where it makes it. He had to make his own noises, beep boop or whatever. You know what I mean? That shit was cool. This movie is like the way they did animation between different multiverses really gave you that feel that everybody was from different universes.
That everyone was unique, like they're supposed to be.
Like we saw that Venom universe, where they painted the Spot in there too. I would have personally been like, hey, you should have made the Spot real and made somebody with a white mask come out.
That would have been funny.
that would have been a lot better. But I'll take what they gave us, and I thought that was cool. Like they really showed different variations within the animation and how different every single universe down to the art style. And that amount of detail was just insane.
It was amazing. Because even when he sticks his head into the, I'm assuming is like the 60s animation universe, like everyone looks like a 60s animated cartoon, and then, so on and so forth. But just to go back to Gwen's dimension, it was so nice. I really I need this movie to hurry up and get to DVD because I want to hear the director's commentary on this. You know what I mean? I love that her universe is like emotion based, and it's like it's all these different colors, and like it was just so nice to see that, like, yeah, like you said, it can very much, you don't have to hear what they're saying to understand that she feels this way and he feels that way, and it makes the room quite literally dark and distant, and like sorry, this is kind of jumping the gun, but when they finally understand each other and the room is just almost white, it's like pastel colors, almost white,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just them face to face in their original coloring.
Yeah.
It makes it so much better. Like it's like, and then they hug, and the warmth of the colors. Like it's so nice. Such a nice like detailed dimension.
Yeah, that was really great. Miguel O'Hara's dimension had its own feel to it as well.
Yeah, I like the way they did Nueva York. Yeah,
Nueva
York.
Nueva York.
Yeah,
Yeah, that the whole everything was great. I really loved the animation style in this movie. Like, there was not one where I was like, "Ooh," and then even like with certain, like with the spot, like you can see like the outline, the pencil stencils of like, you know, to show his facial structures, and then even with Miguel O'Hara too, like you can see the pencil just drawn into his face, so you can see different stuff, and that's why I was like, with certain things, you know, it was intentional. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't to, you know, oh, we didn't accidentally morph this into his face. You know what I mean? Like it was intentional the way that the animation was styled to portray whatever they were trying to, you know, portray whatever they were trying to deliver to the audience. Even like the vulture in the beginning, the paper mache, that little scene where Miguel O'Hara was about to just like suck his blood and the light flashed and it was like, it was red for a second to be like, oh, this is some scary shit, and then the light shined and everything was just different. You know what I mean?
Like damn.
The animation style is what's key with this movie too. I think that's what keeps this movie fresh and different and from other animated movies, because, and I think this one is a real contender for like motion picture, best picture,
no,
honestly,
sure.
like some kind of Oscar, because there's no way in hell that they put all this like detail into this movie to not get it recognized.
Yeah, there's no way. They better get some kind of awards for this. They deserve everything about it. It was so crazy, because even in the beginning to that Renaissance vulture, you know what I mean? The way he moved was fucking insane. Like it wasn't his dimension, but you can tell that he wasn't out of place. He was out of place, but at the same time, so smooth. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of raw feeling in knowing that he doesn't belong here, but at the same time, the way he moved, it's so smooth. It didn't look as.
If you want to talk about how somebody moved, my God, like, look, I am grown. They have no reason to make Gwen Stacy be as like fucking eye popping as she is, okay? Because like the way that she was able to dodge the blades in the beginning, the way they animated that, where like it was like whoosh, and then like she was slowly able to do that, and then like even that scene, oh my God, dude. I could watch it every single time with even the background too, the background music, his theme song, when 2099 comes through and like saves her from the vulture before he was about to like blast her, and you just hear the or whatever the song is, and then all that shit just God, even when she would like that scene too, where you were I could just love on this movie all day. Even that scene too, where you said where she walked all the way down, and she was just sitting there upside down. Obviously, her hair was like that. Like the detail in her face, and like she honestly, like I was like, this cartoon looks pretty, bro. Like why the fuck does she look so like real? Like it's crazy.
It was fucking really good animation. They really just gave everybody their unique style, which is amazing.
Man,
So
the animators,
so good.
they need nominate them, man. Nominate them. Now let's talk about the world building. Now we knew that this was gonna be a big multiversal movie. We knew that the first one gave us a little glimpse of that. You know what I mean? They world builded, but they were limited. This one is a different kind of world building. We were actually able to visit different universes. They came to the main characters. For me, the world building, man, this is the movie that the Multiverse of Madness should have been. This movie is what No Way Home should have been. Even though this will probably be a debate later, but even though I like No Way Home and all that stuff, like they did it right from there, but they just improved on it with this movie. You know what I mean? Same thing with the Into the Spider-Verse. They had a good idea there, and they improved on it with this one. And they really they gave me what I wanted in a multiversal movie. Like this is the first and only one. And what better way that they were able to portray it in, but besides animation, you couldn't even capture
in live action. This wouldn't have worked.
No. That's crazy. What do you think about the world building?
It was for sure something else, because it was new and fresh, because not only did we understand where they were individually, like Miles, Gwen, and Peter and all them. But it also expands beyond them. No, not just for the sequel, but to every other universe that kind of stems into the Spider-Verse. Like, we know where Miles' story is, and we understand that he's been thriving as Spider-Man for a year and 4 months. Gwen, same thing. Her universe is that she's grown apart from her father. So that's where she was in the first one. And then, like, her band, and then all this and that, and then she joins the Spider Society, and then they give us a glimpse about what this Spider Society team is really. And then even into all that, 2099's own universe and his story and his world building was just like building blocks on top of building blocks, and it was all so complex down to Earth 42 and, you know, all those other things. It all really just ties together neatly.
Yeah. That the way they did this movie was crazy. The cameos, having Donald Glover as, you know, as the Prowler, and that one scene, seeing the different variations of different variations of, you know, the Rhino. You saw a regular Rhino and you seen an actual Rhino. You know what I mean? You seen a different variation of
Kraven.
What's his name? The fishbowl.
Mysterio.
Miss Mysterio. We also saw like parallels too, you know, with Miles Morales' little friend. You know, he was like, "Oh, you know, I'm not your guy in the chair." It starts with this, and you know, clearly in No Way Home, you had Genki, who was, or not Genki, was Ned, who was I'm thinking Genki, which they were both guys in the chair. Honestly, the PS4 version and this one. In No Way Home, he was, you know, the guy in the chair. That's what he always wanted. And this one was like clearly like, I'm not your guy in the chair. Like, it's a slippery slope. Like, yeah, the world building was just great. Like, they were letting you know that though we can't be in the MCU and just have whatever we want. Like, we're still, you know, we're still cousins. We're still best buds. We trade here and there.
And the way they mentioned the MCU is crazy too.
Yeah, when they were saying about the little nerd on Earth 9999.
Yeah, one. It's 1999.99, which is
now,
a fucking mouthful.
All right. Because I was confused about this, okay? And I was gonna ask you, but I just wanted your real answer on here. Now that we kind of brought it up, in the MCU we call it 616, or that's what they called it in Multiverse of Madness, and that's what Kevin Feige, I believe, said. And then I think Miss Marvel, the actress who plays her, came out and was like, "It's not 616. This one said it was 1999999." Now, is that a retcon? Is that a continuity error? What is that?
I think it's probably just a continuity error / misinformation.
Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige ain't sharing notes. They're just like, nah, we ain't about to tell you what we're doing.
Think about it. Realistically, Peter B. Parker would be 616 Spider-Man.
Why?
He's the oldest Peter, and this is technically where he would be in the comics if the writers knew what they were doing with him. I'm not even going to dig into all that. Fuck you, Paul. That's just like, it's my big thing. But like, Kevin Feige is just, he's just trying to sound and make it, probably prop up his universe to make it sound like he knows what he's talking about, but I doubt it. You know what I mean? It's not 616. It's 1999.99. Where he pulls 616 from, people want to be like, oh, it's probably just, it's whatever mainstream thing is going on at the time now. And even then, like, for in-universe, if you want to theorize, just to put where my head's at, they're barely dipping into the multiverse. You know what I mean? So they're just going to throw in whatever number sounds fucking, you know what I mean? But I think Peter B's universe would be where we are in the comics, because he'd be that old, essentially.
So, okay, because you're teaching me a lesson right now. So 616 would be the comic book line that was originally made back in whenever.
Well, current Spider-Man.
When Ditko did it himself.
Yes, that's 616. Yes.
Okay.
So like,
if you guys don't know who Ditko is, Steve Ditko, he's the creator of Spider-Man.
Yeah. So from when he starts it all the way down to now, to I think the writer is Zardsky, like, that's all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when Miles jumps from 1610 in the comics, he's jumping to 616 to Peter's universe. This is a whole thing that I could get into either on podcast or off. Like, if you want to talk about it, we can talk about it.
We'll keep talking about it. I want to know.
Because
I'm curious.
That's the tough thing about this. if you really want to dig into continuity errors, calling Into the Spider-Verse Miles Universe 1610 is also hard because in the comics, 1610 is the Ultimates universe. And the Ultimates universe is a shit universe. But I've mentioned it before. That's the one where Peter Parker dies. There is a Miles in that universe. But to call it this universe and that universe the same one, it really gets you mixed up. Because now you have comic book people who are like, well, that can't be right. And then you have people who don't read comics that are like, all right, this makes sense. So maybe they're just trying to simplify it for that audience who doesn't read the books. But at the same time, you got people like me who are like, this doesn't sound right at all.
So what you're telling to me is comic book people need to chill out and know that this is the movie universe?
Sometimes, yeah, basically.
Okay.
So, like, because a lot of it is just that, you know what I mean? Because I can nerd out and be like, oh, actually, 1610 can't be that because, you know, this technically...
Why do you think they talk like that?
Technically, the
Why
Ultimate
universe...
Universe...
Why, no. Why do you think they talk like that?
Well, I was saying me, personally. Like, if I wanted to nerd out, like, I could just... Because technically, the Ultimates universe is dead as of Secret Wars in the comics.
Okay.
So that universe kind of went... That's why Miles is in the 616 universe, the main new universe in the comics. It's hard to just differentiate that from universe to comics because people can totally be like, well, it's just the movies, not the comics.
Okay.
So I think that's why they do it in the movies, just to simplify that and get people that understand that Miles' universe is 1610, Gwen's universe is this, Pavita's universe is this, and so on and so forth.
Okay. All right. Makes sense.
I don't think the MCU was 616.
So it's just a discrepancy. They're basically not on the same page. They're not like Kevin Feige's like 616.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think he canonized it by putting it in within the MCU, so it kind of messes up. I guess in a way you can kind of say they're on a different page because I mean there was one scene where that whole tree of whatever different universes splitting off, but then it turned into a web. That could kind of mean that like the Spider-Verse itself is its separate thing from the MCU thing.
That's what they made it sound like, which I'm pretty sure is a good way of saying, hey, we don't fuck with them over here.
Yeah.
Like, we don't even know who Iron Man is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that Easter egg, too. I think I pointed that out to you. I was like, that's the fucking, I like that because they were like, this is everything. And it's like the actual tree from, well, not from Loki season 1 and then from Ant-Man and the Wasp and so on and so forth. And then, the Spider-Verse would be its own thing, technically. Yeah.
So, and we'll theorize and everything how that's going to work out. Or I honestly think that they just made themselves a fucking... That, like, honestly, if I was Amy Pascal and I would have seen that clip, that part and heard exactly how they were, saying it, canon events and all that stuff, the fucking register in my head would have just been like, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. But we'll talk about that whole theory later on. But moving on to the plot. What'd you think about the plot, man? How'd you think about the story at hand?
I thought it was great. I don't know if it's better than the first one, but like two goats can coexist. Like it felt very simple in multiverse context. You know what I mean? Like this is probably the simplest multiverse thing we've gotten. We don't have to worry about, oh well, what about this Doctor Strange and that Doctor Strange and so on and so forth. And then like it felt very simple in those terms, just so we can get complex characters.
Okay.
Like Miles.
I see you.
Like Miles, The Spot, 2099, Gwen.
Keep spitting.
Like, I'm telling you, a simple plot really gives you room to like give complex characters. That'll be for everything.
Well, you said it for that, but I think the complexity and the way that they were able to give a complex story, it was through showing the struggle of Gwen Stacy letting her dad know that she's Spider-Man, right? Or Spider-Woman. She basically, in the beginning, and same thing with Miles Morales, same thing, like, not being able to come out and let them know, and that could be taken into one's life in many different ways and resonate in different ways, not wanting to tell somebody something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Afraid that it's gonna hurt to have opened up. That moral of the story is great. Even down to Miguel O'Hara's, like, him being the villain, I sympathize for him because, like I said, being a father. You know, that I feel like that's where they hit, you know, the parents that were taking their kids to go watch it, right? They hit it with the parents' POV. They were able to, you know, dig deep from the parents' POV. Hey, we care about you, stuff like that. Miguel O'Hara, you know, he's a parent who lost his child, or wants, you know, that wanted a child and lost the child because he was trying to get what he wanted. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, what he wanted is what hurt him. That's a good moral of the story. You know, like it was so much. Yeah, and even down to the twist, down to the twist at the very end, and how that's gonna play into the next movie. Miles Morales' character building without this one, because of the plot, was great. He went from this cocky kid in the beginning to not knowing where the fuck he is by the end of the movie, and what the fuck to do. You know, like he was making it up as he goes along, and though he's getting the confidence and learning as he goes along, like he's making hella mistakes and, you know, digging himself deeper into, you know, into what he's basically running away from, you know?
Yeah, and that goes to show, because, I mean, think about it. He's trying to do it. He was doing it on his own, but for that whole year and 4 months after the events of the first one. And then now, not only is he up against the Spot, but he's up against fate. I guess that's like my own thing. And against everyone else. And while his friends, quote unquote friends, were there during the beginning, he's not going to trust them after what happened in this movie. So he's basically on his own again. You know what I mean? Him against the multiverse, if you will. It's just so complex stuff, because even Miguel, just for him in his shoes to be like, well, you can't have what you wanted because then it costs this, and I would know, so you should listen to me. And he was just like, well, no, I can't, because you're telling me, big spoiler here, but you're basically telling him that for him to be a successful Spider-Man, there is a trial and tribulations to him being that, you know what I mean? Which I thought would have been it with Uncle Aaron, but I guess that sets up the next one pretty well. But it's a very big thing of just, not only do you have to lose your uncle, but if you got parents, they gotta go too, and your love interest. So it's crazy stuff. And for Miles to just unaccept that, it really shows that he is doing his own thing, which I fucking love. It's amazing. So many good like stories aligned in this movie that I hope all come together in the next one.
Oh, it will. Then, to be honest, the way they wrap this movie up, like, by the end of it, and here it is, okay? We're going to talk about the twist, and we're going to talk about our theories, and then we'll go ahead and give our ranking for this movie, basically, like, where we put this at. But the twist. So, at the end of the movie, all right, like I said, if you guys didn't mind anything being spoiled before, look, this is the big reveal. So, if you guys don't want to hear it, don't listen. But at the end of the movie, we wound up getting a little twist that Miguel basically tries to go home, and
You said Miguel.
Oh, sorry.
Miles tries to go home.
Miles tries to go home, winds up making a mistake and goes to a different universe, because I guess the spider that wound up biting him was from a different dimension, and gave him the DNA of that spider, which was dimension number 42, which I thought that was crazy. It wasn't about the experiment number, it was the actual dimension. You know what I mean? So I was like, damn, they really marked their spiders in that dimensions. So it wound up going over there and wound up teleporting him to, you know, Earth 42, which was supposed to be the Miles Morales that gets the spider powers, but basically he swapped lives with that one, and he wound up becoming the Prowler in that universe, and they wound up seeing each other face to face by the end of the movie. And I think Miles was trying to break out with his finger, and then it cuts to black. Nothing else. And that was the best cliffhanger I could ever ask for, bro. I was just like, man.
It had me shook.
I was like, is part 2 about to play? and the thing that was fucked up about it, because I was like, when the beginning of the movie started, like, I wasn't expecting Gwen to be the main focus of the story, if that makes sense. So, like, when it first opened up, I was like, okay, they're going to give us some context, because they put out a poster where you saw Gwen was falling and Miles Morales was going down. I was like, man, is this another neck snap thing? I was like, this is some bullshit, bro. So like, I didn't know that the story was gonna mostly be about her. And so by the end of the movie, when he was running away, like I think the middle of the movie is where I would have loved the movie to have started, or at least the ending part is where I was like, it was really about to pick up, and then them adding that little drum in the beginning from like what Gwen was doing in the beginning when she was banging it, like it really just pumped me up to the point where I was like, bro, I'm trying. Like I was ready to go, and they cut it straight to black, and I was like, son of a bitch! Like it was like you were about to grab it, and they shut the doors, and just like, no, you can't have it.
Not yet. Sorry.
No, sorry. You gotta wait till next year. I don't know, man. What'd you think of like the ending, and what do you think is gonna come out of this movie?
I thought the twist was amazing. Like I saw it coming because it is a very like blink and you miss it kind of moment. But in the thing they do say Dimension 42, and if in the beginning it does say he's from 1610, so you're kind of like, well, fuck, is he going home? And you assume he goes home. A lot of people were saying that they were making the distinction that one universe was raining, the other one wasn't, but both of them were raining. What throws you off immediately? Well, I didn't notice it at first. I noticed it second time watching. We watched it twice, but we noticed that the color grading in his room is green and purple. We noticed that was like one of the first things we pointed out. And Miles'
I ain't gonna cap. I caught that on the first one, but we're sitting too far apart.
Oh, really?
And my leg was broken. Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't want to bring it up because I didn't notice. Because you didn't like say anything about it, so I was like, oh, he probably didn't notice. So I was like, I'll show you.
No, I didn't notice.
Whenever we watch it again.
Yeah, no. You told me about the jacket. I didn't notice the jacket, or I noticed the jacket. I didn't notice the actual like background. It was green and purple, and you're kind of like, well, fuck. And then it goes on and so forth. We find out he does in that alternate universe. He's the Prowler. I really think this is going to be such a great conflict because they're going to clash so much about the fact that their fates changed, basically. Because my working theory is, say 1610 Miles, our Miles, didn't get bit by that spider. He basically would have been the Prowler. And he would have ran into, for namesake, I'm calling him Perfect Peter because he was blonde and perfect. Peter B calls him perfect, I think. Perfect Peter around that age where he met his alternate self. So 15, a year from then, he probably would have been the Prowler running around, and he would have ran into that Spider-Man, which is fucking insane to think about. And people were theorizing in the first one. I didn't even, because I went back to watch it after we watched Across the Spiderverse 2, and like now I'm catching every little thing. 42 pops up a lot in that one.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, even when their spider sense goes off, you can tell that his Miles's was green and purple, and that it changes to red and blue. So his fate then changed. So such good storytelling, but it's gonna be so good for them to make that conflict a bigger thing because you can tell not only is Miles' parent alive, Jeff Davis, he's alive, but Uncle Aaron, he has his Uncle Aaron.
Okay.
So it's gonna be an interesting conflict to see them clash, because they both lost someone on each side. Granted, their circumstances are different, but
that's that shit's gonna be interesting to see because I was thinking too that they were just. I'm thinking that Miles is gonna pull on the heartstrings of his uncle in this next universe. I think he's gonna show him like, oh, this is the Miles that he really loved, and not really, you know what I mean? He's not gonna really like the way that Miles turned out in that one. It's gonna be interesting to see him battle himself. Like those kinds of stories are really like, good when it's like you versus you type shit. So to see where that's gonna take it in the next story, and seeing that Gwen got the whole gang from the first part to come back, so I'm hoping Nicolas Cage comes back to Noir.
Oh yeah, Noir.
I'm hoping he comes back to voice him in part 2.
Yeah.
But we got a major cliffhanger, and honestly, as soon as I seen it the first time, the different things, like the way they split and the differences down the road, like how you said, like around the year and everything. So I'm hoping we get to see Chris Pine's Spider-Man come back. because he was the one who played him in the first one. So I'm hoping we get to see him, and hopefully Miles and him get a team up in that universe. Kind of like how it is in the PS4 one. So hopefully we get to see a little bit of that too.
Well, that's my thing, because Spider-Man doesn't exist technically in that universe.
42?
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
No.
Why wouldn't he?
Because they said he didn't. That Miles would have been Spider-Man. The first Spider-Man.
He would have been the only Spider-Man.
The mom even says, like, who's that? Like, there was none before.
That's true, yeah.
So he would have been
the one and only.
And it's interesting. Now get on the same side with me. So think about it like this. He would have been the only Spider-Man. He not only would he have had to learn it all, but he would have probably lost his dad. He probably would have not lost his uncle.
He would have
regardless.
He would have still.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's why it's so different.
He would have lost his uncle first still, and then he would have basically Miles lived his life. The only difference is that he killed the Spider-Man in his universe in order to be Spider-Man.
He went through the trials of being a Spider-Man without getting the powers.
Yeah, that shit was
I guess is the best way to put it.
That shit was a crazy twist when he was like, "Man, like you're the original anomaly." I was like, "Fuck."
Miguel was gunning for his ass.
Hey, I felt it was racially motivated, man. That shit's crazy, bro.
That's crazy because he was just.
My boy was angry. He's like, "You're the only black one." No, just playing. No, but that shit was fucking crazy, and I've been seeing people make that argument online too.
They weren't paying attention.
I was like, bro, he's biracial, and by the way, in a way, it is kind of figuratively like that, because when Miles Morales was first, like brought into light, by in the comics and stuff like that. Kind of like how you said neurotic in them that are like, oh, it's Miles Morales, he's not Spider-Man, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, the purpose of Miles, it was to show you, like, you could be any race, any ethnicity, boy, girl, it doesn't matter. You can be Spider-Man. You can put on the mask. You can be as strong as Peter Parker or whoever the fuck you want to idolize, and you can be that superhero. But people like to be like, oh, he's Mexican. He's not Spider-Man, he's El Spider-Man, or he's something else, like kind of like how they did with Indian Spider-Man or whatever, right? They gave him a different name, stuff like that, different identity. In some universes is like that, and some of them is gonna be Miles Morales or whatever. But at the end of the day, who are they called? Spider-Man. You know what I mean? So it's
or Spider-Woman.
It's different people, but the mask is the same. You know what I'm saying? So. And that's basically the big metaphor when it comes to Miles Morales, and what I've noticed from the first movie and into this one, is the acceptance of this Spider-Man as well. That's like in my opinion, the little background of it too, trying to show the general audience like anybody can be Spider-Man, and I think it's really paying off, and they're doing it in a great way.
Exactly, perfect way to put it. What I want to know for sure though is what was Penny's big event, because she looks so fucking mature in this one.
Who?
The Penny from the first one, when she shows up in that big ass robot, and that's her.
Oh yeah.
And she's like all grown up in like a serious anime character. I'm like, damn, what happened to her?
It was what happened in the first one when she lost her robot, the one that her dad made her.
Oh well, I don't think that was it, because she still had the spider.
Yeah, but the robot had all. Remember, she said that her dad had all. The robot had all of the dad's memories, and it was basically like her dad because he downloaded his consciousness into the robot. So, the robot passing away in the first one was like her canon of it. Yeah,
well, yeah, she looks so like serious and mature.
I picked that up when I rewatched the Into the Spider-Verse.
Bro, she grew up a lot.
Yeah,
so I was just like, damn, she looks like a serious protagonist now.
Yeah, it's gonna be
hardcore origin story.
Yeah, and it wasn't even in her universe. That's crazy. But yeah, that's completely insane. So Josh, and let me just get this theory out the way, okay? Because with this whole Spider-Verse thing, like I said, Amy Pascal probably knows what she's doing, but that's probably why we're getting these Amazon shows of Silk and all that stuff coming out pretty soon, because now she's limited. Now they're limited over there, and they're never selling to Marvel. They're never going to sell to Disney anymore. They're never going to sell this character. You want to know why? Because now they can tell different Spider-Man stories if they really want to cash in on this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They could make TASM 3, but also make another Spider-Man that, you know, that has a different thing or whatever, that's in a different universe. Kind of like, because in that scene where they basically put Toby, Andrew, they put all these different Spider-Mans, we're all connected in one way. Like, regardless of anything, they don't have to be completely connected, but they are just their own Spider-Man in their own universe dealing with something else. We don't need to know origin stories all the times. We don't have to see, you know, Ben or Uncle Ben or, you know, their father. You know, we can see Peter Parker with his parents, how he would have lived. You know what I mean? We can get so many different movies and genres of, like, what if Peter Parker went this way, or what if Miles Morales did this, or what if a whole new Spider-Man came out of this area? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's a money bag. It is such a fucking money bag. And I'm telling you, fucking dollar signs would have been in my eyeballs and fucking going crazy. Like, hopefully, if y'all listening and y'all don't know, if y'all don't have this idea, holla at me. Because, hey, yo, it's super, like that. They literally just made the pathway to money. It's crazy. And Fahid could do nothing about it. He just looked at him like,
he's just
fuck.
like, damn, not only could they do better universes than us, but now they won't even think about selling. Like, I'm sure he's fuming in his office,
dude,
while they're trying to write Spider-Man 4. His pen is shaking like, I don't even know if we could top that one.
Did you guys not see Across the Spiderverse? Like, oh, dude, it's going to be super tough. Now, talking about those cameos and stuff too, one thing that really stood out to me, and I don't know if it stood out to you, probably not, because you really don't like him for whatever reason. Tom Holland was missing an appearance in this movie.
Yeah, he was. I noticed that. They
Why?
mentioned him.
Well, they
mentioned him, but they don't show him.
Yeah, they said the little nerd too. They
Yeah.
didn't even say, like, you know, Peter Parker. And
to be fair, he doesn't have a scene. He doesn't have a scene of him holding Uncle Ben or nothing like that. So. And maybe they didn't. Maybe if they
his Aunt May.
Oh, maybe. But even then, because even if they if they even mention that, they have to give some likeness to Marvel. Because his events would have been May dying and then Tony dying.
Yeah, I think that's why they basically connected Marvel by
Doctor Strange.
Well, not Doctor Strange, but with the Prowler.
Oh yeah.
I was just like, that's a big old like. Is this saying like, oh, MCU Spider-Man is MCU Spider-Man? Like, we'll never see that Spider-Man and Tom Hardy go at it ever? Like, is that like, unless it has to do directly with Disney Marvel, like, are we, like, we're not going to see Tom Holland like that? That was just my big question, because, you know, they could have used that Aunt May scene as a, you know, canon event or whatever. They could have done that stuff. I know that the writers, they said, like, they didn't want to put too many live action stuff in there because it was just going to get too comical, but they could have, I thought they could have included it.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Especially hot off the heels of No Way Home.
I think
like,
that's
hot
just
off the heels. This being the next Spider-Man movie off that one.
I think it's just a lot of that, though. I think it's a lot of outside stuff with holding them together. Because, think about it. How many... Well, that's not entirely true. I only know 2... There's only that one, and then, I guess, Insomniac Spider-Man, where they lose their Aunt May. You know what I mean? But Insomniac Spider-Man lost his Uncle Ben way before that. So maybe his canon events and outside sources just don't allow him to be there. You know what I mean? Because he's still in limbo or whatever else. But Spider-Man and TASM, Peter Parker and Spider-Man, can both be there because they're made by Sony. They don't have to go through rights or jump hoops with nobody to even mention Tom Holland.
Probably, yeah. And same thing with the Prowler as well, because they're from their movies as well. Well, that's what I'm saying. But No Way Home would have been their movie as well. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Why not? You know, like, he doesn't even know about the Spider-Verse or anything. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just like a weird contract thing. Like, that's what I'm thinking, but I'm not 100% sure. I was just like, it was very weird. Maybe general audiences didn't really care, but
maybe not.
I was just more like, why Tom Holland wasn't there?
You know.
And we saw Tom Hardy's Venom, you know, his universe at least, and cool. You know, we saw different universes, but we did not skirt off the MCU because we used the Prowler to fill in that you know.
And even then, you know, they could totally be like, well, we don't know if it's him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they really wanted to make that case. We don't know it belongs to him. He's just the Prowler. We don't from any universe. We don't. You know what I mean?
So maybe that then. Maybe it's Tom Holland, we're never gonna see him in any other.
Probably not. No.
Like actual.
Not unless they stop sharing and they're just like,
come on, just Sony, fucking bring back Andrew Garfield. Then come on, like that. Like I said, this is the money machine now. You can easily say there's 2 Spider-Man. There's one in a different universe that's in his own timeline that has to do with his own canon event. Come on, Sony, this is money.
I just really love seeing Spectacular Spider-Man. You have no idea how much that like lit me up. I was like, damn.
At the end of this movie, I was just thinking of like Kevin Feige just like clenching his arms, like fuck. Like there's
did it again.
Like there's no even, and I would say like this is like, in my opinion, the better Spider-Man movies that I've seen ahead of live action, and it came from animation. You know what I mean? So that's why I just want to stress the importance of animation and how like animation can completely just give you a different reality altogether, and you can just really
do shit that you can't do.
Yeah, you could, and you could really fall into that. Like you can really fall into it and just love it all the fucking time. But come on, we gave it its praises, theories, and all that aside, we mostly talked about everything. So, Josh, with everything this movie had to offer, what do you give this? 1 to 10.
Man. This movie was an experience. You know, if you haven't seen it, if you decide to listen to our whole spoiler review, go see it at the end of the day.
Wait, do you have any negatives of the movie?
No, other than Ben Reilly, no.
I just wanted to ask just to make sure, because I feel like no, you really the only one was that Gwen one off the bridge, but you kind of explained it to me, so I can't really completely say no. This movie was, I don't really have that much. So
other than Ben Reilly and maybe just Ben Reilly. Just the fact that I was disappointed. That's like my own thing. I you have no idea, because I've read the comics, and then seeing him in the '90s Spider-Man cartoon, it's kind of just like, this is like his first iteration off comics and all that since then, probably. And they kind of shit the bed. That's like from a fan point of view, not even like a movie critic thing. That's just me.
Okay. So what'd you give it?
As I was trying to say though,
you had to take a pause.
You cut me off, so I was just like, might as well like get me water in. But with everything this movie does, with everything that it's going to do in the future, it's just.
And you're including, with this score, you are also including the building that it did with the first one, right?
Well, yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
It's you can't really like I'm judging the movie on its own, but it does build bridges across the way.
And that's what that's where I would say like it needs to be a category, and I didn't really bring it up, but now's the perfect time if there's any. You got to also take into consideration, did it build on perfectly from the first one?
Of course
as well?
It did.
And obviously when the third one comes out, it's going to obviously change our opinion on this one, whether or not they connected it well. But as of right now, from this one, knowing that we're getting 3.
Yeah, no, you can totally tell they were doing the research with the first one. They planted everything that if you go back now when you watch it after this, Across the Spiderverse, and watch Into the Spiderverse, you could tell that the spider's 42. This and that. 42 is everywhere. They actually hit the dude with the bagel. That's one of the bigger scenes, but like,
I swear they were just like on Twitter all the fucking time when they found that idea. They were just like, look, everybody's fucking making fun of the bagel that we put in there and shit, and they were just like, this is the way.
Yeah. But, and this movie does a lot, and I enjoy all of it. I think I'm gonna give it a 10. It was a 10 out of 10 experience.
The first 10 out of 10 out of Josh's mouth on this podcast.
This movie was
don't play. What episode is this gonna be?
I don't even know.
This is your very first 10 out of 10.
120 something, maybe 130 something. I'm not sure, but This movie was just everything to me. Even like as a Spider-Man fan, as a comic book fan, this movie does it all. And 10 out of 10.
Okay. I can give you that.
Yeah.
For me, now, I think the only reason why it's not a perfect 10 out of 10 for me is because Though I love this movie, like I said, from everything. Like, this movie is beautiful. That one scene where Miles is trying to act like, oh, he's Spider-Man, and he's just like, oh, you want to talk about it? And they show, like, where that explosion happened, and then basically reconstructing it, and that, like, it looked like plastic, and it looked like ocean when it was waving, like water, and the sun and everything. Like, that shit was beautiful. Like, everything about this movie was just well made. There wasn't no, just dumb plot device pushing it forward. Like, it actually took you to places and justified going to those places, doing these things. Now, where the demotion comes from is because of the way they connected it to the first one. Though I did love how they built up on some things after, watching it twice, actually. After watching it twice again. And I watched Across the Spiderverse twice as well. So it's crazy because... Did you hear a difference in the theater? Because, the first time around they said that, the audio mixing was different. And we literally went on the same day where they sent out new ones. Like, did you hear a difference?
I heard a difference.
Yeah, huh? Like, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
I think. And it just sucks that we weren't in the same theater as last time. Because we could have really could tell then. But I heard a difference in this one.
Gwen in the beginning didn't sound as echoey or distorted when we first
and like low, huh? Yeah. But everything that that they built upon it pretty great. It just seemed like they knew that they were going a certain direction, but not with everything. Like they had a retcon the way that kind of like Peter died for this part over the first one. You know what I mean? They kind of changed it a little bit. Some things they had to change and had a retcon, but I understand. Because they probably didn't know that they were going to get a movie that connected to two parts or whatever and stuff like that, which I can give them a pass, but at the same time, I got to, I have to ding it just a little bit. And with this one, as good as it could be, I have to give it a 9.5. I just short, just short of 10. Yeah. Just short, only because of the little things that happen with the first one that don't really connect with this one and the little changes. But like I said, the beauty and the art and everything really makes up for it. The story, the acting, the music, the soundtrack. I know we didn't even talk about that, but the soundtrack is...
I've been listening to it all the fucking time.
The first movie soundtrack was great. This movie soundtrack is amazing. Got Jaden over there. Metro! Like, all the time. Like, he's always just copying it. That soundtrack is great. I didn't have a... And honestly, if anybody's a music fan out there, if you guys like Coy Leroy or whatever her name is, if you guys like her for any other song than the one she did on this one, I can't talk to you guys, man. This is the only song that I could fuck with that she made, because I felt like Metro actually found a perfect beat that goes with like her voice and the way that she sings, because she's not a very, like, I've seen her rap before and stuff, and she's not very good. So I thought him being able to make her sound good, and his little cameo in the movie was funny too, but him making her sound good, I was dreading that one, but hearing it in the theater before I even heard the soundtrack, I was like, who sings this one? And it was Cole Leroy. I was like, I guess. I was like, man, I had to brush it. I was like, man, I fucking guess, bro.
The entire soundtrack is something else. And not even like the music from Metro, but the scores for each Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah, man.
Like Spider-Punk had his own. I really liked 2099's, how it sounded more like
a
futuristic,
huh? Yeah,
like futuristic, like EDM type shit. Where like when he enters, you're just like doo doo doo, and then like it goes in, and then when they're saving that helicopter, what do you call it? It's a mix. You can hear a mix of Gwen's drumming and his techno music. So you're just like, man, they managed to just tie everybody to their shit.
I don't know if you noticed it. I didn't notice it, but after the first watch, I forgot who I seen and talked about it or whatever, but they really like they spotted it, but like watching it the second time, it made it even more interesting. But Miles' hero theme and the Prowler theme, the Prowler theme from the first one, when at the very end, when Miles sees that it was him from a different dimension, they put Miles' hero theme, mixed it with the Prowler theme, and really, like, I think it was Straw Hat Goofy that noticed it, and I seen it on his thing, but it merged together. They merged it together, and I noticed it at the end. I was like, damn, whoever is mixing these soundtracks, oh my god,
they understood the assignment.
Yeah, everybody who's doing, like, I don't know if animation is just like a such a long process that they have enough time to, throw out ideas, and then down the line when it doesn't work, they're able to switch it, you know what I mean? And even up to the very final, and they are able to perfect it, whereas like, a live action movie takes like about a year and a half to make, and it's usually out by the second year. Like, I don't know if that makes a difference at all with how like they're able to get so in detail and put stuff in there and think about it, but man, it's insane the amount of detail that they put into everything, from the soundtrack to the animation to the dialogue. Wow, this movie was good. Movie of the year, it has to be. I'm not sure yet. There's still some more movies to come out, but it has to be.
Yeah. Well, oh boy, this movie certainly does. It's an event, and like I said, we've seen it twice, and honestly, I don't know.
So, before we end this out, though, I got a couple more questions. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
And these are the hard hitting ones. Okay.
Okay.
With Across the Spiderverse and honestly Into the Spiderverse being multiversal movies, and now having a live action No Way Home into the mix, I gotta ask, man, what's better, No Way Home or Across the Spiderverse?
That's not fair. I think as a story, plot, and everything, it goes to Across the Spiderverse. But the thing that really just gets me for No Way Home is seeing Toby, Andrew, and all my villains come back. You know what I mean? I could care less about the plot or anything in this area. It's just nostalgia all the way. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only thing that it has going for me so far. Because even with Multiverse of Madness, you know what I mean? I really like seeing the John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, and then that Charles, because again, that's just pulling on nostalgia. But they probably do it the worst, and then Across the Spider-Verse, and then No Way Home second.
Okay, now Across the Spider-Verse or Into the Spider-Verse?
Ah, man, they can't coexist.
Nope. One got to die right now. You have the gun to their head, and they're looking at you like, "Please don't kill me!" But you got to pull the trigger. You got to pull it anyways. It has to be done. Who are you killing, Josh? Which one are you doing it? You get the time's up. Come on, 5.
I think it's Into the Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider-Verse is better?
No, it has to go.
Oh.
No, bang, bang.
I was over here thinking you're going to save his life, but you dumped the full clip.
No. Double tapping. But Across Into the Spider-Verse is evolutionary. It does everything. It animates perfectly. It tells a great story. But this one takes that concept and dials it up to 10. Even I have a tough time, because I made a playlist involving both soundtracks, and I have a tough time picking them apart and thinking like, whoa, which one's better? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think from movie to movie and just putting them up against each other, it has to be Across.
Yeah, for me, I have to pick Across too. But for this one, honestly, I like No Way Home. It's a good watch, like how you said, for nostalgia, but that's basically all that it is for nostalgia, because everything else is like, I can care less. Mm-hmm. And maybe like for the ending where, I actually see that he's struggling and everything. And I don't know what it is about Peter Parker, but we love to see him struggle. So, Across the Spider-Verse, we see him struggle the whole fucking movie. So I fucking love seeing when they fucking struggle. I don't know if that's just, projection, but hey, leave me alone. Anyways, but also Into the Spider-Verse, though I love its execution, and honestly, it could be neck and neck, like how you said. Can they not coexist? Mm-hmm. But as a multiversal movie, and them both being multiversal movies, I honestly think Across the Spider-Verse did it better, only because in the first one, we see other universes, but we don't see them as heavy as Across the Spider-Verse. Yeah. And on top of that, I think a lot of the characters, though they had their own feel and everything, they were more used for gimmick, I think, in Into the Spider-Verse. I think it was more like, let's show, that noir is dark and brooding, you know what I mean? Like, they were just there to just show you, like, oh, there is different ones that act different, Yeah. And in this one, they were actually being different. You can tell, like, every single Spider-Man had their own personality. And though, obviously the ones where, they were spread out thin, where there was just, T-Rex, Spider-Man, Andy Samberg's, obviously they were just used for those gimmicks or whatever, but like the other ones, like Miguel O'Hara, he was in Spider-Woman, even though, she was just the sidekick or side character, they didn't use her for gimmick either, you know what I mean? Like, they actually told the story with these ones.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, it is very close. But Across just does everything and takes it up to 10. So you can't even be mad at that. But both can coexist.
Yeah, but moral of the story, say the truth, man. Just fucking tell them. It saved a lot of people a lot of hardship, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just say.
Exactly.
With that being said, though, that is the end of this review. It was great talking to y'all. If there's anything that we missed, something that we should have said, but we didn't, hey, go ahead and let us know. If there's a movie that you guys want us to review, if you guys want to, support us in a big way, Josh, let them know where they could let us know.
Twitter, TikTok, Instagram at FilmBros Podcast. We post when new episodes are up, and you can engage with us there. If you want to listen to us on the go, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you get your podcasts. If you want to support us in a huge way, subscribe to our Buzzsprout. If you could become a member, you get special perks, and you get shout-outs on episodes, or on these episodes. So why wouldn't you want to do that? And then, when it's all said and done, just subscribe to our YouTube.
Yeah. And with that being said, we will talk to you guys on the next one.
Talk to you guys later.